So I don't know if you know this, but our warehouse is in an old city morgue.
Didn't know
Uh,
that. I mean, it's kind of fitting for Fright-Rags.
it is, and it wasn't by design. I was literally looking for a new office, and this place came up, and I didn't think I could afford it because I really liked it, and it was kind of pricey. The rent was, and when I looked at it, the landlord who owned the building was like, "Well, it used to be the city morgue," and I was like, "Oh my god, it's amazing." But we were able to work out a deal and move in 7 years ago. I mean, I would have wanted the place anyway, but the fact that it was a morgue was awesome. So we move in the old morgue. It doesn't look like the old morgue anymore. I mean, the outside, I had pictures of it from when it was the morgue, like a long time ago. It was built in like 1920, I think, but it hasn't been the morgue for 50 years or something. So anyway, a couple things have happened. So number one, we moved in there. So all the stuff we brought in from our old warehouse, including the radio that we would have playing in the warehouse. And so this new building or building that we're in now, the morgue, is the warehouse, and then our offices are above it upstairs. Well, we have this radio in the warehouse, and it just like to turn on and change stations to like a jazz station or something. It never did that before. It's a digital radio, so I guess anything could happen, but it never did that before, and it would turn on and change stations on us. So that is one thing. Second thing happened a couple years after we moved in. I was up in my office, and we're on a side street, and it's pretty quiet. And outside my office, I can see the entire side of the parking lot next to it, which is very open. I can see the street out in front of me, and it was the summer too. You could hear everything outside. I mean, I've heard people sitting out on the bench outside my office talking during a work day. So I mean, the windows are thin, right? And so two of the guys from the warehouse come upstairs, and they walk in, and I was talking to somebody in my office, and they come in. They're like, "Are you guys okay?" They were like ashen, like totally like gray. And I'm like, "Yeah, why?" They're like, "We just heard someone scream, 'Help me.'" And we're like, "What are you talking about? Someone scream, 'Help me.'" Like, we would have, if someone screamed anything, we would have heard it. And they had already gone outside and looked around the building and up down the street, and there was nobody. Someone just screamed, "Help me," and they heard it in the warehouse. So the last thing that's happened was, well, we have weird things happen once in a while, but the last major sort of thing that happened was I was actually moving into our new house here a few years ago. So I wasn't in the office. It had been, I was going to be gone for a few days because we were moving. Well, I get a call from my warehouse supervisor, and he was like, "Hey, were you in the warehouse last night?" I'm like, "No, like I've been moving, like I haven't been to the office at all." He's like, "We found something on the floor." Now, where our warehouse is, there's all these racks, and then we have some stations, and then we have like a kitchenette area. And in between the kitchenette area and the proper warehouse proper is a decent sized open floor. Right in the middle of that floor was a puddle of blood. Now, nothing had dripped from the ceiling. We checked it out. We also have motion sensors in the warehouse. So if there's any movement detected, the alarm will go off. So it couldn't have been an animal, and there was no trace of blood anywhere. And the alarms never went off, and they were never turned off during the middle of the night. So it turned off and turned back on. And it wasn't there when he left or anybody else left, but it was there when he got there that morning. And it was blood. I saw it. It was not ketchup or barbecue sauce or whatever else. And it was not near the microwave or anywhere. It was like in the middle of the freaking floor. I honestly have no explanation. I really don't. So those are the few things that have happened. It's so funny. Like once in a great while, things will move, like fall off the shelf. But you can kind of explain them. But there are times where I'm like, that was like in a bin. There's no way it just flopped out. Like, how did that happen? When I talk about them, they sound made up, but they weren't. And that literally happened. And I have not seen anything personally. Like, again, I've maybe seen something fall. Like we were talking about a ghost in the warehouse one day, just talking about something. And all of a sudden, literally one of our socks fell off on the floor. And I was like, I mean, I guess maybe it could have been leaning up in a way that fall, but that was weird that it happened at that moment and they were in the bin. But these things they did happen, and there are, we have witnesses, I mean, it wasn't just one person or whatever. It's multiple people that have seen these things. So